Hello everybody, what is going on? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Brian. Today we are taking a look at the brand new Bardstown Discovery 12. Now, normally I don't think these are videos that I typically dive into, but as I've been going through my bourbons of the year and kind of getting those ready for the end of the year wrap up, when I came across tasting this, as a spoiler alert, I knew that this would be in consideration for kind of accessible bourbons of the year. I've tasted a whole bunch of stuff this year, and I'm navigating, trying to figure out the best way to put these in lists. If I do it like I did last year, best single barrel picks, best kind of more accessible, limited and rare. Let me know what you think down below, what type of content you like to see in those type of sections. And I've also got my buddy Nick, who said he'd help me take the bottles that I have in general and find out a way to format it to do an all-inclusive list of my favorites of the year. Still working on that detail. But that's not the point of this video. The point of this video is to talk about the brand new Discovery 12. How does it stand up against Discovery 11? How does it stand up against other bourbons released this year? Let's dive in and find out. Let's talk about the makeup of this one. It is similar to Disco 11, and I think a lot of people have this on the mind. 48% Kentucky 14 year. This is a 75 corn, 13 rye, 12% malted barley mash bill. We saw that last year. We have a 15% Kentucky 10 year, 78 corn, 13% rye, 9% malted barley. We also saw that last year. We have the addition of 29% Kentucky 10 year, 78% corn, 10% rye, 12% malted barley. Really excited to see that in here. And then the Bardstown Bourbon Company component change has gone up from 6% in Disco 11 to 8% here in batch 12. It is a 6-year, 4-grain recipe, 60% corn, 26% rye, 10% wheat, 4% malted barley. Now this has me excited. Bardstown Bourbon Company has been releasing 4-grain single barrels at their gift shop area in downtown Louisville. And the ones that I've tried so far have been really, really great flavor. I'm excited to see that hopefully eventually roll out into the single barrel picks. But until then, you got to get them at the gift shop, or here we're trying it in this recipe here. And I'm loving the flavor of that, and so I'm curious to see how this blend does, nuanced a little bit similarly, yet still different than batch 11. Let's go ahead and pour it out and see what we get. While I have you here, if you don't mind, jump down below, give me a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you haven't, let me know your favorite discovery so far. I think the thing that's unique about this particular nose is that some of the distilleries that are made up with the mash bills that are on this bottle have been releasing a lot of really great products in the last couple of years, and even a lot of them being released this year. You get this rich caramel note, this cedar chest note, as if you just pulled this bourbon out of a box that's been stored in an attic. Rich but balanced citrus presence, this luxurious leather, it's definitely too expensive for me to buy, and a trail mix type note that is kind of mixed nuttiness as well as a lot of dried fruits. The nose is inviting for sure, but since I have already tried this, I do know that most of the magic happens on the palate. Let's go ahead and dive in for a first sip. The palate is, simply put, beautiful. Having had this bottle open for a little bit of time, some of the sweetness almost comes off nectary and intense, like a peach type sweetness, a little bit. It's not the main focus though. Rich, indulgent oak. There's a big vanilla creaminess. There's a toasted citrus, almost like a citrus simple syrup, and then lots of cherry cola. It begins incredibly balanced and nuanced, and even if I stopped there, I feel like there's already a lot to kind of write home about. There's a lot to say about how good that is, and maybe it's hard to translate into video, but the flavors are already an excellent pocket. The thing is, it doesn't stop there. There's more to it than that. It's like it goes into an act 2. In that act 2, the flavors grow even creamier than what you thought in the very beginning. It develops a ton of complexity. There's so much stuff that you can start to tease out or pull out of the palate here. The flavors are more soaked in. There's definitely that rich, cedary oak that I mentioned on the nose that is fully present here on the palate. A lot of dried tobacco, leathers introduced. There's a plethora of dark dried fruits, date, raisin, cranberry. I don't think it has quite the elevated sweetness of strawberry, but just imagine maybe a really ripe, juicy strawberry in terms of the saturation of flavor. It's like that here, but maybe not quite as sweet as a strawberry would be. Definitely leans more into some kind of darker cherry notes, some cranberry notes, and the darker fruits that I had mentioned. Spice is present here, it's appreciated here, it's never the focus. The finish is oaky caramel and a vanilla cream soda. I honestly cannot emphasize this enough. The strength of this whiskey comes in the finish when you let it sit for about a minute. I felt like Disco 11 had some front of the palate kind of funk, some front of the palate kind of oakiness. This one develops its most beautiful oak notes about a minute after you take a sip. I feel like most people are gonna want a comparison to Disco 11. So why don't we just go ahead and do that? Let's bring out Disco 11 very quickly. I'm surprised at how similar, but so different that these two are. Let's go ahead and dive in on 11 real quick. If you don't mind some oakiness to your pour, I think 11 leans a little bit more crowd pleaser, a little bit more friendly overall. I feel like you have these kind of sugary fruit notes. You have honey as more of a focus. It definitely leans a little bit lighter, a little bit brighter, a little bit softer in its creaminess. A very enjoyable, very drinkable pour. This was my best bourbon, accessible priced bourbon of the year on Disco 11. So there was a big shoe to fill when it comes to Disco 12. But you know something? I honestly think that it fills it. Everything I said about Disco 11 in my notes of it, I feel like I could say about Discovery 12, but I feel like there's just more to it. There's more depth, there's more saturation, there's more to discover. No pun intended. Hey, wow. It's more intense, it's more complex, it's more dark leaning. I'm not gonna lie, there are things about this pour that immediately make me think of Old Fitz 13, which is in the list to be, one of my top bourbons of the year, usually in that limited category. There's things about this already that make me think about Russell's 15, again, in that list of top pours of the year. Another thing I want to kind of quickly compare it to is this Altshuler 12 year. Now hear me out, this is pretty radical, but so far, this Altshuler 12 year has been one of the front runners of my more accessible bourbons or store picks, whatever you want to call it, bourbons of the year so far because of its presence of sweetness, spice, and oak. It's still really enjoyable, very syrupy, very different of a pour. So this is going to come down to, I'm not going to tease it out in this video necessarily, but that's definitely something that's going to come out in a blind as I get closer to the year. But as I pull back into Discovery 12, the Kentucky components here are very, very enjoyable and noticeable, and honestly quite a contrast to that Altshuler, which is Indiana. Beautiful example of well done Kentucky bourbons. It's a beautiful blend, and honestly is rivaling to me some of the more limited releases that I've had so far this year. I don't want to talk in hyperbole or talk as if I'm just always ramping up the new best thing. I don't want to come off sounding like that, but I feel like it might here. I love Discovery 11. We moved a ton of Discovery 11 for Seelbach. It's been a great bottle. Again, it was my bourbon of the year for more accessible bourbons. And so far of all the things I've had, there's been some great bourbons. I've had a lot of really great things this year, and I'm really looking forward to kind of summing it up at the end of the year. But this Discovery 12, especially when you let it linger and you let it tap into those oak notes, gives a profile for what I would say is a relatively affordable price that can go to bat with some of the limited heritage distillery releases that we have seen so far this year. And that's the main reason why I want to do this video. I wanted everyone to know that this is a bottle that I would suggest that you not miss grabbing. But I'd love to hear from you all, what you all think about this compared to the 11. If you guys get a chance to try it, let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Guys, thanks so much for tuning into another video. I hope it was insightful, informational, maybe it'll help you make a buying decision. If so, leave me a comment down below. Let me know if you guys are enjoying the content I'm putting out and things that I'm talking about here on the channel and if it's helpful to you all. We're getting to that time of year, guys. Hopefully we'll see some more content. Hopefully it's some really exciting bottles being released. Till next time, everybody, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you all later.